Progressive brings you Flowetry with Flow.
The better you drive, the more you save. Bears and bats, they live in a cave, but that's irrelevant here. So back to the subject we steer. Snapshot saves you money when you drive safe. I wear corduroy pants. I don't mind that they chafe.
The better you drive, the more you can save with Snapshot from Progressive. Visit Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Snapshot not available in all states or from all agents.
Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to my new edition of Sin's Chat Corner. This evening, I have the very illustrious pleasure of hosting Erica Chase, who is both a acoustical guitar player, singer, and songwriter. So, without letting her hold any further, we'll get her on the line and we'll begin our interview. Good evening, Erica.
Yes.
Hi. How are you?
I am fabulous. And yourself?
Oh, I am very excited, actually. I learned a whole lot about you, and I have a whole lot of questions to ask you.
Uh-oh. All right. I got a few answers, so we'll see
Let's sure hope
the
so.
questions that you're asking.
I do. I hope so. I have a bunch of different questions that are very unusual, out of the ordinary. They're about yourself. They're about your career, and hopefully they'll be very fascinating for the audience. At least I hope so.
Sounds good. Let's rock it out. I'm not scared.
Okay, good. I wanted to start off our interview by discussing your initial discovery of your passion for music. I know that it's been said that it originated around maybe age 7 or so. So maybe you can tell us maybe about some of your early memories relative to playing instruments and or singing.
Yeah, I mean, just like a lot of people that grew up in the 60s and 70s, and a lot of artists, they point to seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan as like this turning point moment that made them realize that I want to do that and I'm going to do that. For me, it was hearing the Red Hot Chili Peppers song Under the Bridge, which came out in 1991 when I was 7 years old. And I heard it. I was actually on a trip to Poland. My grandparents were Holocaust survivors, and they wanted to take us to where they grew up and escaped from, and that song was just constantly playing everywhere that we went to. It was number one throughout the entire world at the time, and there was something about that song that just really spoke to me. The melody, the lyrics, the rhythms, everything made me that kid that was like, I want to do that. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I know when I get home I need to get a guitar and do that. And so Once I got back to the States, I ended up borrowing this guitar from my cousin. It was like a $50 toy store guitar that literally broke in half at one point, and and I started to take a few lessons, but my hands were just really, really small, and it was hard to do. So I ended up giving it up for a bunch of years, but never lost the desire and knew that I would return to it when it was the right time. But yeah, that was definitely the turning point for me.
I gotcha. Now, this musical passion of yours, was that part of your family's wishes for your future? Were they always very persistent in saying, yes, Erica, this is something we want you to pursue?
Definitely not.
Ooh,
an artistic career is not the pattern that a lot of parents choose, or at least where I grew up, and then my kind of family, it was more encouraged. You go to school, you go to college, you kind of create a linear path for yourself. And that, I mean, if you want to be a lawyer, you go to school, you earn your degree, you take the bar, you're a lawyer. You don't go to the school of rock and all of a sudden you're a rock star and they hand you a Grammy. I wish, but that's not how it is. And there's ups and downs and twists and turns, and for me, I love that. I love the challenge, but it's always been hard for me to explain that to my parents. I think they're coming around a bit more in recent years, because they just know that how determined I am and how self-motivated I am, that I'm not going to stop no matter what. But it definitely wasn't always encouraged. And I actually was sidetracked with sports, particularly basketball, for a long time, and that was where I was focusing my extracurricular activities.
Right, exactly. I was curious to ask if your two brothers are also musically inclined as well.
They're not, actually. It's interesting because my older brother is artistic and creative as well. He's actually a journalist, but he is not into music. I mean, he drives in his car without listening to music at all often, which is so strange to me because I can't function without it. It's such a essential part of my being and my soul. And my younger brother has an appreciation for music, but doesn't play any instruments, and neither do my parents. So no one. I'm the redheaded stepchild musician weirdo of the family.
Wow, that is very different, actually. I like the creativity sense that you've got in your family, though. That's very cool. You were just leading to my next question. Most listeners might actually be surprised to learn that you had accelerated as an actual sports athlete prior to your musical inclinations. Now, was this part for you enjoyable, or do you think maybe predictable due to the fact that you grew up with two boys in the house?
That's a really interesting way of putting it. I think a combination of both. At first, I really did enjoy it, and actually when I realized that I couldn't play the guitar at the same age as age 7, then I got into basketball. I needed to do something to release whatever I needed to release at that point. And it kept me fit and active, and I also always loved competition and being a part of something that was bigger than just me. And I played the point guard position, which is kind of the leader of the floor, and you're kind of responsible. You take the load on you, and I always kind of liked that. I always kind of liked, if we lost, I took all the blame on myself. If we won, I left all the accolades to everybody else, and I just liked being kind of involved and helping out. But it got to a point in high school when I started playing music again seriously and started writing songs that it definitely became more of an obligation that I couldn't wait to be rid of, and it started to be less and less fun, and music started to slowly become everything to me. So I ended up giving it up. But I'm still very active and athletic, and always love to play and confuse a lot of guys on different parks and stuff when I try to play pickup games. They never see me coming. They underestimate me all the time.
That's neat. I mean, that's neat that you're able to still acclimate that physical part of your life, obviously being so focused with the music. I know that obviously you went on to formulate a rock band in college. Well, interestingly enough, I see that you studied English as your major.
I did.
If you would, could you maybe elaborate to us how you actually formulated or created this band? What motivated you? How did you come up with the idea? What made you want to do this?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I really was not cool at all in high school. I was picked on. I had a low voice. It was just weird, and I was known as this basketball player and wasn't accepted as just Erica in general. And I had a small group of friends, but I wasn't cool. But I always wanted to be in a band, and I could never get that together in high school. And so when I went to college, like the first day, I had 2 different goals set out. I was like, I'm going to become a vegetarian, and I'm going to be in a band. And I accomplished both of those by like the first week. My bass player lived right across the hall from me in the dorm, and I walked into his room. He was very attractive. And I said, hey, I see you have a bass in there. And he said, yeah. I said, do you want to be in a band with me and also be friends? And he was like, okay, but I've only been playing for a month. I'm like, that's fine. Don't worry about it. I got it covered. So we ended up becoming best friends, and 3 of our other guy friends along the way came into the picture. And originally, I always imagined a guy would be singing the songs that I write. So we auditioned a couple singers and never found one, and I ended up just singing by default. It wasn't ever something I thought of. I wasn't confident at that time, and I was like, I had a lot of insecurities with my voice, and just with being like the front person of the band, I just imagined myself being the Noel Gallagher figure of Oasis, just kind of the songwriter playing the guitar off in the corner, and but I ended up kind of being thrust into the main spotlight, and now I can't imagine being off to the side.
That's amazing. That's wonderful. Now, to those who don't know this, in your final year of college, obviously, fate prompted 2 things. Obviously, first of all, an advantageous phone call, And then tragically thereafter, of course, your world was impacted by a bicycle accident.
Yeah.
If you could, detail for us how both of those incidents made a profound impact on your life.
Of course. Yeah, it was a really crazy 24-hour period of my life. I had never felt this way before and probably never will again. But I got introduced to a guy named Dana Strum, who's well known for his role in Slaughter, multi-platinum 80s hard rock band, and Vince Neil from Motley Crue as well. And he's also produced many albums for like Guns N' Roses and the Gypsy Kings and all sorts of cool people. And he was mutually friends with a guy that was a business partner, an ex-business partner of my father's, and they started talking and about me, how I wanted to do music, and their mutual friends said, oh, I know a guy named Dana, he's in the music industry, maybe we should have them meet. So I ended up talking to Dana, and I just thought he was the weirdest person I've ever talked to in my life. First of all, he wouldn't shut up, and that's still true to this day. If you get a word in edgewise with Dana, that's pretty good on you. But he just kept telling me how awful the music business was and was just shooting really straight with me. And I really liked that because he didn't sugarcoat anything. When you hear the music business and you don't know anything about it, you just think of the shady characters and people always trying to make really horrible deals. And this guy was telling me the complete nitty-gritty truth of just how bad everything was. And so when I got off the phone call with him, I had this crazy feeling. It was like horrible depression mixed with like my life is about to change, and I can't even understand how it's going to change, and it was just magnified to this feeling that I'd never experienced before. And I didn't really know what to do with that feeling. And so the next day when I went to go meet my friend for lunch around the little college town, I got on my bicycle, and as I made my way out into the street, I got hit by a truck and ended up flying up into the air and shattering their windshield and rolling off onto the floor, waking up in a helicopter with a mask over my face and not knowing what just happened to me. And, waking up in a helicopter is definitely not something I recommend to anyone out there.
Don't do it.
Just don't do it, yeah. If you can avoid that, just try.
Okay.
And I'm not a religious person, but I'm definitely spiritual and believe that everything happens for a reason. And just know that there was some kind of sign there just to kind of wake up. And if you have a passion for something and you're not sure, because I was going to go to Seattle and become a teacher and pursue music on the side, but I was kind of scared to go full throttle and say, no, I want to be an artist, and I'm going to take this hard road and go through all the twists and turns that I've now been going through. But this made me realize, no, I got to do this. I got to see this thing through. There's a reason that I talked to this guy and he shook me up, and then there's a reason that I almost died, but I didn't, and I'm fine, and I'm meant to be here, and I'm meant to accomplish something and create something. And so, yeah, I think about that every year. It's February 2nd, 2006, and every February 2nd I just wake up and I think and kind of like meditate and feel really grateful to be alive, and also really grateful to have a passion that drives me every single day.
Wow. And we are so honored and lucky that you are here. We feel very fortunate as the audience as well, just to let you know that. I'm curious to ask, was there ever a moment, either then or now, where you think to yourself you might have some regret in that you didn't go off and chase that aspiration to be a teacher? Is that still kind of in your mind, like, oh, I wonder if I would have done this, or are you just adamant that this is where I want to be?
You know what? I feel like I can still reach people and teach them through music, and I definitely want to use music to do positive things for other people because it's the most healing thing that I've ever experienced. And one summer I spent in Scotland, I was teaching music therapy and art therapy to a group of people with cerebral palsy, and that was the most difficult yet rewarding experience of my life. And so I think there's different definitions of being a teacher and being somebody that's influential and impactful on other people's lives. So I still feel like I can live both dreams, just in a different way than the traditional, being a teacher at a school or something. But I also, right around that accident time, I had applied for this organization called Teach for America, which I don't know if you are familiar with it, but they kind of send you to lower income or special needs schools, and you kind of live in a city and teach the hardest job there is. And a lot of times it's not pretty, and it's usually in a dangerous neighborhood. And that was something I thought I wanted to do, but I ended up getting rejected from that, and thankfully I did, because I would have been on a different trajectory. So everything does happen for a reason.
Do you think that maybe at any point in time you might consider, maybe as you get more popular or more famous, even maybe going back and having a musical school, or maybe doing musical teaching to someone at some point?
Yeah, definitely. I do. I would definitely want to work with special needs people, again, through music therapy and things like that, because I think that is so special and so amazing, and just vibrations and sounds that you don't have to be aficionado. You just have to be willing to be patient and understanding, and you can really bring so much light to people that feel hopeless from time to time. So and that's what music does for me every single day. In fact, earlier today I kind of found out some not so good news personally, and I just always reach for my guitar in those moments, and it automatically makes me feel hopeful again.
That's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. You remind me of my best friend. My best friend is a musician. She's an acoustical guitar player, and she's a singer, and she's fabulous, and she's amazing. And she's my age, so you're about half my age. So I remember when she was your age, and she sounds just like you.
Wow.
Actually, at that age. I remember those days. I wanted to ask you, I'm assuming you must feel very fortunate, of course, in being able to utilize Dana to produce your initial work.
Yes.
I'm wondering if you can maybe provide to our audience some of the joys of this working relationship that you share with him.
You know what? On paper, it doesn't seem like the most logical pair. A young girl from the San Fernando Valley in Los Angeles and a heavy metal rocker dude. But we are both obsessed with the Beatles, and we have tons of musical commonalities, and that kind of led to really good musical chemistry between us. And he is the one person in my life that constantly and continuously encourages me to write music, and he's never stop writing. It's never enough. You can always do more. He's not like, we have to write 10 songs for the record and then the label's gonna. He's like, no, that's your art. That's what you do. Just write. And so that encouragement just kind of made me become a better songwriter, because I just felt free and limitless, and through that we've really gone on a cool musical journey together, and he definitely brings out the best in me and challenges me all the time, and makes me better than I imagined I could be.
Oh, wonderful. How very respectful, too. I admire that. I want to ask, now each particular artist in any genre has their own method by which they work at their own craft. Now I'm interested to know your process for your songwriting.
Yeah, of course. I get asked this question in almost every interview, and it's my favorite question to answer, though.
Okay, good. Well, I guess I'll be the norm then and ask the same question. I didn't know.
No, well, it's interesting. It's, how does somebody create their art? It's such an interesting process, because it's such a private moment, the creation, but then you share it publicly, and you wonder how it gets from the idea to the stage. And so it interests me too. I constantly listen to other artists' interviews on YouTube, and when they get asked that question, I'm always really giddy about it and interested in what they have to say. So my process is always the same. It's kind of unusual, I think, but I end up grabbing the guitar and playing some chords or a melody and singing just nonsense over it, and slowly the nonsense starts to suss out into lyrics and verse, chorus, bridge, sections, and I don't write anything down until it's completely memorized. And that process is about a 20, 25-minute process. I never go back to something. I never have an idea and then return to it later, because for me, it's this organic experience that kind of just, the song writes itself, and you're never going to be in the exact same headspace you are again when you're writing. So that's why I never, like, revise anything. I never did that in school either with English papers. I'd always write everything in one sitting.
Interesting, because I'm an author myself, and so I find it always interesting to listen to someone else's process, because my process differs from someone else's, and I'm very similar in that regard too. I'll write it out once, I'll maybe change it once, and that'll be the end of it. In fact, I wrote this interview once, I tweaked it just a hair bit, and I'm like, yeah, that's good, I like it.
Yeah.
And that process, very good, and the whole sharing of it. Sometimes it's shared and people like it, and sometimes they don't like it, so we'll see how they like this time. I wanted to ask you, your particular music style has been described as a mixture of both pop and old school rock. Would you concur with that?
Definitely. My main influences are Beatles, Fleetwood Mac, and then, of course, women like Sheryl Crow, and even current artists like Taylor Swift, and, you know, really good pop music. So I definitely am a hybrid for sure.
Okay. Think any possibility it might be out there of you someday doing a crossover, like, for instance, from you being where you are now to going over to country music, let's say, or some other form?
Definitely, yeah. I hope to be sort of a crossover artist and reach the widest demographic possible with that. So I think that's kind of where the music industry has morphed into. It's all sort of meshed together.
Yeah, you're not kidding, and it continues to do so repeatedly again and again, which I think is neat. The more versatile you are, I think the more popular you become, and people appreciate you a lot more. Sure.
Yeah, and there's all these, like, options for cool collaborations with, like, hip-hop artists and country artists, and you never would see it coming, but it works.
Exactly. Now, I've been told that there's a few different individuals, such as Steven Tyler, who is one of my personal favorites, and Paul McCartney, who've actually been privy to your musical work, which must be, again, another tremendous honor for you. Any thoughts or any ideas or any potential out there of future work together, do you think?
Yeah, well, when I heard that Paul McCartney heard my music, Dana was actually doing some remixes of some old Beatles stuff in London a couple of years ago, and he was like, yeah, I'm going to play Paul some of your music today. And that alone was like, okay, what?
Did I hear that correctly? Are you kidding?
What?
Wow.
So I was freaking out just about that, and he liked it, which was even more crazy to me. And he told Dana, I think, that he kind of sensed some of the Beatles influences in there, which was really amazing to hear, because that's like the holy grail right there of songwriters, and I'm a Beatles fanatic for life. So that was an amazing time, and I hope to meet him one day and make music with him. Of course, that would be amazing, you know. And Steven I have met, and he's heard my music before as well. So who am I? I would never say no to working with either of those ever. That
Anybody,
would be
right?
An awesome time. Yeah, I respect both of them. I think Steven's one of the best frontmen ever in the history of rock and roll. He's so charismatic, and you wouldn't want to go on stage before or after him.
I was just going to mention that, actually. Most of us were curious, and I know I'm sitting here curiously wanting to say, okay, so what's he really like? Because when you meet this person, he has such to me, a very profound stage sense, and not only that, there's something sexy about him. He's not the most attractive, but he's just very sexy in the music sense, and that's why
charming and confident, and confidence is the sexiest thing of all, I think.
I gotcha. And as a musician, would you say good choice or bad choice to leave American Idol for him? Just curious.
I think it was a good choice. I think he did what he needed to do there, but his focus now is, you know, with Aerosmith and touring and probably making another record, and I think he left at the right time. I mean, I'm not sure how this season is gonna going to hold up. But I think everything runs its course sometimes, and you never want to stay too long.
I agree with you. Now, let's talk about a couple of your different original songs, Never Let You Go and Very Far From Home. Explain to us your journey relative to the final development of those creative songs.
My journey, okay. Well, with Never Let You Go, that's one of the most personal and deeply meaningful songs to me. As a songwriter, sometimes you have songs that you write and you get it out, and then it's no longer for you anymore. It's for other people to relate to and connect to. And then there's certain songs that are just so, every time you play them or every time you hear them, no matter how many years it's been, they just bring you back to that place that you were in when you wrote them. And you still hope that it connects with other people. I never use any specific names or anything. I always keep everything general in my writing so that somebody else can say, oh, yeah, I know what she means by that. I feel that way, too. And Never Let You, those songs were both written over 6 years ago. But I think they hold up pretty well. Very Far From Home is just like kind of a fun Sheryl Crow bluesy type song, and I have a really interesting story about how we recorded the demo version of that song. I almost didn't understand the song that I wrote, and while I was trying to record it and record the guitar part, I was just having some trouble getting it down. And so I said to Dana, and our recording engineer at the time, I said, listen, I'm just going to sing it without having the guitar part in there. And they're like, you're just going to sing it to nothing, to the drum track? I'm like, yeah, just trust me. I have no idea, but they're like, okay, and you're going to be on key? I'm like, I don't know, just roll the tape. We'll see. So I ended up singing the whole song just to the drum track. No chord at the beginning to even know like what note I'm supposed to be singing. And we never ended up changing that vocal. It has held up over time. and it's a really interesting story. Yeah.
Wow. Now, what's even more amazing to me is I see that your single "We Can Fly" gets approximately 4,000 to 5,000 plays a week on YouTube. Now, I want to ask you, in your personal opinion, to what do you attribute the large success and popularity of this song?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. We put out a video like 6 months ago now, and it's just crossed over the 200,000 view mark with really no promotion, very little promotion here and there. It just seems to have connected, and it's been seen in over 100 and something countries, which is mind-boggling. But that's the power of the new music industry with all of the easily accessible things like YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, and you can reach anybody anywhere at any time. And I think it's an upbeat song, and it's a cool video. It's not too flashy, and I just think that it makes you feel good when you watch it and when you listen to the song. And I think people just they want positive music, especially when things in the world aren't always the most positive. And it's been really cool. It's almost taken on a life of its own, and I'm really proud of it, and I'm really happy and grateful to every single person that's watched it. Definitely grateful.
It's very enjoyable, I have to say, just for my own my little 2 cents right there. So definitely everybody should be listening to that, FYI, which I will be posting up later on all my social mediums as well.
Thank you.
Curious question. Many youthful and aspiring musical talents, they typically audition for the American Idols or the Voices of the world out there as a means to establish themselves in the industry. Now, is there a reason that you've opted against pursuing that route?
Yes. There are a couple reasons. The first being that I am a songwriter. I don't fancy myself a singer. Songwriting is way more a part of me, and in those shows they kind of don't allow for that kind of creativity. It's more kind of almost like a karaoke type thing where you're singing somebody else's art and they're trying to mold you into what artist you might sort of sound like. So I feel like I already have my own thing that I do, and I wouldn't be able to do that fully on those shows. And the second being that while they are a great platform and there's huge exposure and the huge potential for success, there's also, I don't know, there's some pretty crazy contracts that can be signed for the winners where you don't really have any artistic control over anything, and you're sort of a puppet on a string, and it's almost more trouble than it's worth, you know. And for maybe the 5 to 6 people that have come out of American Idol with huge success, there's also 100 other people that got 60 million people to watch them for a few months, and I don't know where they are now, and I don't know if it's better to get a taste or nothing at all. So I respect the people that do that, and I think it's cool that anybody anywhere can be a star. The potential is there, but for me it's just not the right path.
Gotcha. Okay. I have a more interesting question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can you maybe explain to us how your music's own individuality, it's going to solidify your musical success? Because it seems to me, and forgive me, I'm not trying to insult you at all, the dance-type music appears to be the most popular in culture today, so meaning everybody's listening to that, they jump on the bandwagon, that's what they enjoy. How is your music individual in its own right to where you'll solidify your own success?
I believe that good songs are good songs are good songs, no matter what genre, and there are always different trends happening simultaneously. People always need music to dance. That's, you know, and have a good time and recreational fun. That's always been there since the beginning of music. There's music for every mood, and then there's always been, you know, harder rock and singer-songwriter and jazz and blues, and there's room for everything. So I think that, I mean, there's people like Sheryl Crow. She's my career idol, and she's gotten to do her own path of pop rock for over 15, almost 20 years now since her first record came out, and she still sells out huge venues and puts out the kind of music she wants to. And maybe she doesn't sell the 4 million she used to, but she's still a legitimately respected female artist, and is still going to be played right after Nicki Minaj on the same radio station. So I think there's room for all.
I agree, 100%. Tell me, out of the 3 talents that you possess, being a singer, the songwriter, and a guitar player, which do you feel is your strong suit and why?
I definitely would say the songwriter part of it. I initially wanted to play the guitar always just to write songs. Yeah, after I heard Under the Bridge, I wanted to be able to create music and create that feeling for myself. So I think I'm a reasonably good guitar player, and I can definitely jam. And I used to play more lead guitar in my old band, and definitely do some cool leads and solos on my upcoming record and whatnot. But the songwriter part is definitely the number one, and then probably the guitar part, and then probably the singer number 3.
Wow. Huh. Interesting. That's an interesting. I wasn't expecting that. I would have expected the singer to be first, to be honest. I really did. With the guitar player being last. Just my thoughts.
Yeah,
okay.
It's interesting. I mean, so I guess it changes from time to time with the singer and the guitar part, but the songwriter, I think, is forever going to be number 1.
I gotcha. Nothing wrong with that at all whatsoever. You are multi-talented. That's all that's important, of course. I know you've touched on, of course, some of the individual icons in the music industry that you idolize or that you fancy, of course. If I were to ask you if you wanted to pattern yourself after someone, would there be one individual you could think of in the music industry? One female?
like I said earlier, it would definitely be Sheryl Crow. I think her career model is flawless, and I want to be someone that's legitimately respected as a musician, instead of just a pop star or celebrity for celebrity. I pride myself on my craft and being a musician and a songwriter, and she's been able to do that effortlessly, it seems, over the years. And she still gets to put out great music after all this time, and still continues to play. But she's never been Justin Bieber, but she's also never been some gal at the coffee shop. You know, she's always had her own niche, and that's where I want to do. That's what I want to do for sure.
Gotcha. Okay, let's talk a bit about the upcoming album, of course. I'm curious, first of all, do we have an actual release date yet? Do we have any idea when this is happening?
It's most likely going to be the first quarter of next year, of 2013.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay. Now, did you find it difficult because you're not necessarily what we call an established, where you've been around for years and years as it relates to the music industry? Has it been difficult to secure or attract investors?
You know what? It's been an interesting process so far, but it hasn't been as challenging as I thought. I mean, definitely the economic situation has probably made it a little bit more challenging than, say, 10 years ago, when people were making more money and had more money to invest in kind of startup businesses, which is what I consider myself. But I've been able to create a small team of people that really believe in what we're doing and believe in me as an artist and as an entrepreneur, creating this business model that we hope to use on other artists in the future. I'm sort of the guinea pig behind what we're doing with our marketing plan and setting up a new music artist career in this changing industry where you don't buy the CD at the store anymore. You sort of give everything away and entice people to get on board with you and then come see you live and come buy your merchandise and believe your message and all that jazz. So it's actually, I've learned a lot. I grew up in an entrepreneurial household. Actually, my grandfather, who passed just a couple months ago, was a self-made man, businessman, definitely the most influential person in my life. And so I've always been taught to work hard and create something out of nothing. And so it's been a cool process. I've learned a lot so far.
Now, as I understand it, and based on looking at your website, are we able to look forward to seeing you, meaning you're planning various events where you're actually going to be performing, some sort of a mini tour? What's going to happen at that point? Are you going to be doing promotional things?
All of the above, yeah. I have some showcase stuff right now that we're just getting the details for, and then I might be doing some cool opening acts for some very, very cool established artists, which I'm excited about, and we'll tell everybody as soon as the ink is dry on the paper.
Gotcha.
But
okay.
I can't wait. I mean, that's what I love to do. I love to perform and transform into this Erica Chase character and rock out in leather and have a good time. So I can't wait to do that and leave the business on the table for a moment and just be a rock star.
I was just going to say, now, do tell us. Now, if we were just sitting with Erica Chase right now, would we be sitting with the rock star all the time, or is there that whole other side of the girl that just hangs out and watches reality TV, or what's Erica really like?
That's true. Yeah, I think that there's a clear separation. I mean, the Erica Chase person on stage, I don't think you can be that person all the time. It kind of would maybe get you in trouble a little bit. Erica Chase doesn't have any rules to follow. She just has to entertain and just live without any inhibitions and forget all the issues of the day or the next day or anything. You only think about that hour to 2 hours that you're given, because there's somebody there that's been saving up all week to come see you, and they're looking forward to it, and you have to give them their money's worth, and you have to entertain them and make them feel good. That's your job, and that's what you want to do because it makes you feel good. Now I'm confused. I'm talking in the third person.
We're just talking about you. So, like, for instance, you're like a normal girl, right? You have hobbies, you have interests, you enjoy normal things. Tell us what an average day is for you.
Well, I mean, music is always a part of the day, but yes, sometimes I find myself watching The Real Housewives of some kind of city at some point.
Ooh.
I like the OC one the best, I will say.
I just had Peggy panels. Yep, not so long ago. I have my Real Housewives on the show. You should be listening. I have the Real Housewives on the show. They're lovely girls.
I did listen to the one with Heather, so I caught that.
Interesting.
But I mostly enjoyed really weird, dark shows like Sons of Anarchy and Breaking Bad and things like that when I get a chance to watch TV.
Wonderful.
Other than that, I do a lot of volunteer work from time to time and hang out with some friends and family.
I have to ask the inevitable question because I'm a girl and we all ask this question, which is Erica Chase single or is Erica Chase involved in case there are boys listening that might have an interest in this?
At the moment, Erica Chase is single. I am. I'm engaged deeply to my upcoming record.
There we go. That speaks.
I am a hopeless romantic, and when I fall hard, and so I can't wait for that to occur again, hopefully soon, because I think I'm ready for that, but it's
I'm glad you said that.
A lot to balance.
Yes, it definitely is. And I understand that whole having a passion thing and then having it intertwined as it relates to having a relationship. But lucky for you, I know someone who is your age and cute, and I'll definitely have to play matchmaker off air. Thank you very much. But if there's anyone else listening, yes, she's single. Had to throw that out.
I am.
If I were to ask you, and you can't say Sheryl Crow, if I were to ask who your dream, so to speak, would be to be standing on a stage next to and actually duetting with, who might that be?
Duetting with. I would probably say somebody totally crazy like Prince, because I just think that would be awesome and fun.
Really?
Yeah.
Surprising answer. I wasn't expecting it.
He's so crazy and so weird and such a loner, and I'm kind of like that too. So I feel like our weirdness would. I feel like Prince and I could hang out sometime.
Gotcha.
And not speak and like just sit quietly in the green room, just playing our guitars, and then we'll get on stage and put on a show.
That's absolutely awesome. I did notice actually at one of your links, of course, was as it relates to charity, the Save Darfur. Are there other charitable organizations with which you are going to consider partnering with, or is this something that you're looking at down the road that you want to be more heavily involved with?
Yes and yes. Well, the organization I mentioned earlier that I worked for in Scotland was called Capability Scotland, and I definitely want to work with them again in the future. It's a little hard being across the world from them, but and I'm trying now also to get involved with VH1 Save the Music, because I believe that every school should have musical education in there, and there's a lot of schools that just don't have the money for that anymore, and sports. So I'm equally passionate about, health and fitness and music as well. I think they're all just so necessary for everyone, really. And I've also been, one of my business partners is a recovering addict, and we've also started to do some work in different rehab centers around Los Angeles, and just working with addicts and doing some music therapy and doing some volunteer work with that, and I really love that work too.
Gotcha. Okay. Now I have two final questions for you. The first of which is, what are your own future life goals for yourself as far as both personally as well as professionally?
The most important thing to me, and the most important thing in my life, is just to be a good person. So I don't have any goals to be, just rich and famous. If that comes, that's amazing. But I just want to be happy, and I just want to do good things. And I hope that music will allow me that platform to do good.
Okay. And as far as musically, what would be your plateau?
Plateau. See, I don't want to ever reach a plateau with music. That's my biggest fear, is to just lose interest or not be able to write anymore. It's just such a part of who I am, and it just makes me so happy that I just long for a career where I can continue to play and continue to create and work for other artists and produce other artists down the road. So I don't have a goal of 10 Grammys and, 3, American Music Awards and things like that. I just want to be able to find a space in the industry and where I can share my art and do that for a long period of time.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, if I were to ask you if there are individuals who are listening to the show this evening who their primary passion, I would say, is any of these fields that you're in, and they're new and they're starting out and they're discouraged or they're uncertain, what's one thing that you would tell them as it relates to this? If you were to speak to them right now, what advice would you be giving them as it relates to this business?
Well, one thing I kind of tell myself a lot is, I wouldn't be in this position if I wasn't capable of handling it. I think that life kind of puts you in positions that are challenging sometimes, but you're only there because you're supposed to be there, and you're supposed to just work through it, and it makes you stronger. And so I feel that way constantly when there's a lot of hurry up and waits in the music industry. But at the end of the day, as I keep kind of making my way through the long hallway of the music industry, I just feel more encouraged. And so I think that it's important to just trust yourself and trust your instincts and not let a lot of other people's opinions get in the way. A lot of people project what they think you should be, but only you know what's best for you. And if you shut all the noise out, you're gonna know what that is. And you just have to be able to not be afraid to do that, to take that step. And if it's an artistic path or if it's a corporate path or if it's having a family or whatever it is, you just have to go in it trusting your heart and your instincts, nothing else.
So basically, if I'm listening to you, your perception is a bit different than Dana's perception is as it relates to the musical side of things.
What do you mean by that?
Well, just earlier in the interview, I thought I had caught earlier in the interview when we were talking, just from how when Dana was saying just how the music industry wasn't that terrific and da-da-da-da-da.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It almost sounds, you almost sound uniquely different in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with him in a lot of ways. He's allowed me to see kind of some really dark parts of the music industry and what people will do and the shady characters and the thievery that goes on and whatnot. And he's been doing this all of his life pretty much. So he's definitely has a lot more experience in it. And he's a realist. And I am too. But I think what differentiates us is he's not one to pick up a guitar and play because he's really wants to. He's going to do it because almost like he has to, or it's what he's supposed to do at the moment, or I don't really know if I'm articulating that so well, but
no, I get what you're saying. Sure, I know what you mean.
Yeah, for me, I mean, this is my heart and soul, and it is for him too. But he's just become so involved in so many other people's lives and careers, and he's been doing this for so long, and I'm the fresh-faced, bright-eyed person that just wants to do what he's done, and so he knows that, and he recognizes himself like a young version. He always calls me a young Dana sometimes, so he knows my desires, and he has done everything possible to show me the good, the bad, and the real of the music industry, and for that I'm thankful. He's such an influential figure to me. But yeah, I guess we differentiate him in some ways, which is good.
Gotcha. Well, Erica, I have to tell you, there's just 4 things I've discovered in this interview. You are amazingly articulate. From what I gather, very intelligent, very passionate, and I'm very impressed. And I have a great deal of respect for your talent, along with your tenacity, your passion. I cannot say enough about you. I'm very, very impressed.
Wow. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Oh, not a problem. And the fact that you love Sons of Anarchy, that just puts you right out there because I'm a huge SOA fan, and I'm trying to get Jack Teller. I'm working on getting Jack Teller on the show. I'm just going out there on a limb right now. So
let
I'm
me
just
know.
going to tell you that. Definitely, I will do that. And I wanted to throw out, I want to make sure I have all this right. Erica, website, www.ericachase.com. Twitter handle is Erica Chase Music. You have a fan page on Facebook, which is the Erica Chase fan page. And also I know that your music is on Reverb Nation as well as YouTube. Have I missed anything?
You've got it all.
Oh, my goodness gracious, I have it all. And the last thing I wanted to mention to you is if by some slight chance you wish to work with one of two different country musicians, I am friends with two different ones, two different parts of the world, both country singers, both wonderful gentlemen, and they are looking to duet with someone. So I just
awesome. Looks like you're hooking me up with a husband and some musical collaboration. This is the best interview I've ever done.
There you go. All in one night, let me just say. Definitely.
I know. Are you buying me dinner as well?
I wish I could, Dal, but you're in L.A. and I'm in Wisconsin, so I don't think. But, you know, if you get that Grammy thing going, you got to remember these little people here on these interviews. Like, got to hook up a girl here for a little red carpet action. That would be absolutely lovely. Definitely. And before I forget, I wanted to say, last thing in parting, certainly, once the debut comes out for your album, certainly, please come back to the show anytime. Anytime you'd like to come back, you're more than welcome. But we do want to have you come back on, of course, closer to the time where you have the release of your stuff, because I'd love to have you back at any given point in time.
Oh, thank you so much. I will. I would love to.
Definitely. That would be absolutely awesome. So I will let you go and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you so much for taking the time to do the interview. You
are more than welcome. It's been great. Thank you.
Yes, we'll be staying in touch. I look forward to talking to you soon.
Awesome. Have a good one.
All right, dear. You too.
Bye.
Bye. All right, gang, that was my exclusive interview with Erica Chase. Just to reiterate one more time, website www.ericachase.com. Her Twitter handle being Erica Chase Music. Her Facebook page, which fan page, is Erica Chase. And, of course, you can go to YouTube or to Reverb Nation in order to check out our music. I want to thank everyone who's actually listening this evening to the program. Again, always remember that you can listen to my episodes as archived at any given point in time after the fact, and hopefully we can get this episode blasted out onto YouTube in the very near future. Once again, my very dear thanks to Erica Chase. I also want to let everybody know that tomorrow evening at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, I'm very excited to announce that my guest for tomorrow evening will be Michael Bodine, who is the author of Growing Up Psychic. He's actually a psychic medium and has been for some of the celebrities, some of the A-listers. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about being psychic. We're going to hopefully talk about all the craziness that goes on in my brain. So I am hoping that you will all choose to tune in tomorrow evening. So I look forward to seeing you then, and you have a good evening. Thank you.
Honda wanted to capture everything great about summer in one word, Summerbration. As in the Honda Summerbration sales event. Now throw in some meat and fire, and you have a Barbabration. Hurry in and get a 2017 HRV for 0.9% APR from KBB.com's best value brand at your Honda dealer.
Visit your Metro Milwaukee Honda dealer today during the Honda Summerbration sales event.
Based on 2017 brand image awards from Kelley Blue Book, visit KBB.com for information. APR financing offers available for well-qualified buyers. See dealer for financing details.
Ready? Okay. We got paper, yes we do. Whiteboard, notebooks, pencils, glue. We got crayons, every hue. School supplies for your whole crew. Target's got everything you need to ready, set, go back to school.